I didn't dream for a second that I was going to get corroboration. And lo and behold, the book came out in 2004. The second edition of the book came out in 2005. And in 2008, the FBI had released some documents under a 1992 law that required the document release. In fact, we're still going through it now, and there may be some more released in April. But the document release revealed that the chief suspect in the killing of JFK was the boss of New Orleans, Carlos Marcello. And he's written about in a number of books as the chief suspect and TV documentaries, whatever. And they released some FBI reports of conversations that Carlos Marcello had in jail with the attendants in jail. And in those conversations, he spoke about having had a meeting with Tony Provenzano to kill that smiling motherfucker, Kennedy. And linking Tony Provenzano at this Springfield, Missouri, Texarkana, this Texarkana prison. And it was really a prison hospital. The words Carlos Marcello uttered in that prison, and going back and linking them to Frank Sheeran's words to me about Tony Provenzano. Tony Pro was he was a Teamster official, but he was also a capo in the Genovese family, and one of 1,000 or so mobsters that Frank Sheeran knew and that Carlos Marcello knew. But they both, independently of each other, and they never met. Frank Sheeran and Carlos Marcello never met. They didn't know each other. But for Frank Sheeran to pick Provenzano as the one who gave him the rifles, and for Carlos Marcello to assert that he got approval at a meeting in New York with Tony Provenzano. I mean, that's just beyond, that defies the odds.
Right. How does it feel to be proven correct through the release of documents? I mean, it's got to be mind-blowing for you, you know? I'm getting chills again. Yeah.
It's mind-blowing. It made me, a lot of these things made me more of a Catholic. I started going to church again when these things would happen, like when that New York Times editor surfaced.
Right.
You know, I met with her. I just couldn't believe it. But you know what? The truth has its own way of coming out. If you believe in the truth, then that's what a good interrogator is put on earth to find, and put on earth to believe in, and to respect, and then the truthful stuff starts happening. In fact, one of the things I taught when I taught interrogation was that the more truthful you are in your own life and your own private dealings in life, the easier it is for you to detect when another person is lying.
Oh yeah,
it's like the music teacher who's got the boys' glee club, and up in the corner of the room somewhere there's a boy that's off key, and she knows who he is. You know, and that's the interrogator. Something's not right here. Hello.
You are the boyfriend's of the daughter's worst nightmare. I got to tell you, you know. I mean, so.
Well, yeah.
I hire you out to the parents of teenage girls, but wow. Now we only have about 3 minutes left.
Less than a minute.
My
Charles,
gosh.
Charlie, I want to ask you this: the movie that's coming out. I've been reading that there's a movie coming out that Scorsese's doing that's exclusive to Netflix. Do you know if this is coming out in theaters or if this is going to be the Netflix special that they're talking about?
latest, it's a good question. The latest I heard is that it will be in theaters.
Okay.
For how long, nobody knows. But it will be released to theaters. And then it is Netflix that is paying the bill here, quite a hefty bill.
Wow.
You know?
Okay.
Yeah, they've gotten into the movie production business heavily. So,
well, they're actually spending. Netflix is spending. The latest report was $175 million on this book.
That's incredible.
So
Charlie Brown.
And I get $1 a book when the book is sold. So,
there you go.
Gabby.
Hey,
but let me tell you, the book.
Go ahead.
The book has the story behind the story. The movie is the story of Frank Sheeran, and appropriately should not focus on what I did and how I did it. And for the longest time, I didn't write anything about what I did or how I did it until 2 years ago when we put out the conclusion chapter of 57 pages.
And that
I hung back. You know, I took myself out of it, in part for purposes of public safety, so that I didn't get whacked, and in part because I wanted people to understand that Frank truly was a remorseful man and that he was seeking redemption through his confessing. And so that's really that part of it, the part where I fit in and where I interrogate him and all that's in the book. You know, that's in the 57-page conclusion chapter.
I love it.
Further answer to the cameo question, I'm not in the movie. So, you know, there's nothing. That story behind the story, you got to go to the book to get it.
And that book is a treasure. I love the book. We've got the book here. Charlie Brandt, we're out of time. God bless you, my friend. Thank you so much for everything you've done, everything you've shared. May God keep you.
All of you at the Hagmann Report always treat me the way Bob treated me, with your arms around me. I greatly appreciate it.
Amen, brother. Stay safe out there. May God bless you, folks. We're up against network break.
Keith Hansen when we return.
Yep. Live radio, isn't it?
Hi, it's Jamie, Progressive #1, #2 employee. Leave a message at the... Hey, Jamie, it's me, Jamie. This is your daily pep talk. I know it's been rough going ever since people found out about your a cappella group, Mad Harmony, but you will bounce back. I mean, you're the guy always helping people find coverage options with the Name Your Price tool. It should be you giving me the pep talk. Now get out there, hit that high note, and take Mad Harmony all the way to nationals this year! Sorry, it's pitchy.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Live radio and video. It was a tremendous interview with Charlie Brandt. I heard you paint houses. Wow. And again, a very hit. You know, if you get nothing else out of that, because we didn't have the chance for a proper closure of that, the historical importance of that era and the importance of the information contained in his book, I Heard You Paint Houses. When you go through the book, as I have, and you compare, just for example, the recent releases of the information from the vaults of the FBI, CIA on the Kennedy assassination, extremely consistent with what the author wrote. So I highly recommend I Heard You Paint Houses. And then, of course, by our last guest, Charlie Brandt. Now we've got Keith Hansen with us, always a crowd pleaser, immensely popular in the northeastern United States and really all across the nation with his radio show, and a good friend of the Hagmann Report, Keith Hansen. Thanks for holding over. Thanks for waiting.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. Great to be back with you guys.
You know, it's good to have you. So much has gone on, changing gears from a historical aspect of our last guest to current events. So much has gone on since we last spoke with you. It's getting more difficult for me, and I don't know about you. How do you handle, just out of the gate, Keith, how do you handle processing the news and triaging the headlines, I guess? It's always... as a talk show host, how do you do it? How do you do it?
Well, I think, there's a lot of stuff coming at me. There's a lot of stuff that I choose to focus on. There's a lot of stuff that, I say other people are doing a really, really good job of focusing on. So I'm not going to, I'm not going to basically just become, another pundit talking about the same thing over and over and over again. A lot of it is what is personal to me, what is important to me, what do I think is going to affect my listeners? What is affecting my listeners? And so it tends to be a mixture of state stuff, regional stuff, and then of course the national stuff. And it's kind of interesting we say keeping up with things, because that really is what it feels like. On the rare occasion that I do a lot of trainings, as you know. So, if I take a couple of weeks and I go and I do a training, I find myself, if I'm out of the loop news-wise for about 5 days, I feel like it takes me a month to get caught up. Just to process over 5 days worth of material and reading and watching and listening. And I mean, you do this for a living. I do this for, I basically have like 3 or 4 full-time jobs with everything that I'm doing. So, certainly the media aspect is, I'm doing this for a living as well. And so, we pore over this stuff. And we're analyzing and we're reading and we're comparing and we're contrasting. And, if we get one piece of information, we're vetting that, via multiple sources to try to establish the credibility of the story and the veracity of the story. And it just kind of makes me wonder how people who get their news from 30 and 60-second sound bites at the top of the hour are able to even figure out anything that's going on in the world.
Yeah, there's a lot going on, Keith, and not only that, there's a lot of deception, deceit, and intentional disinformation out there. And you said something about, what's important to you and what is important to your listeners and what might affect you guys. I'm the same way. I don't like to follow the news cycle. Sometimes you have to, depending on the stories that are in there. But, to me, I think radio is, especially the polarization that we're in right now, it's so important to have those other outlets, to have those personal interest stories, to have those, I like talking about things that are happening in outer space and whatnot, but to just get caught up in the news cycle for 24/7 over and over and over, you can run yourself insane by doing that. But absolutely, we need to dig deeper and have that discernment to know what's important. But in this news cycle, in this landscape, Keith, anything going on kind of outside the radars that we're not seeing that you've been focusing on?
Well, we have a local situation up here in New Hampshire. On the 23rd of December, there was a convicted felon who had warrants, and he was not exactly a stellar contributor to society. Wound up, he was suspected of operating a stolen vehicle up here in central New Hampshire, and so he was a white kid. And you got to mention this because normally the homicides via police officers tend to attract attention only if they're, typically if it's a white officer shooting a black or a Hispanic subject. This was a situation where, long story short, through a series of rather unfortunate events, a New Hampshire State Police trooper was forced to use deadly force against this guy, and the backlash from the community is just absolutely ridiculous. And, we've been spending a lot of time, I spent a lot of time today talking about that, and really breaking things down for my listeners, because, social media, this was a perfect example of, a case that was being tried in the court of public opinion. And so that was, this happened on the 23rd of December, but it was just yesterday that the New Hampshire Department of Justice and the State Attorney General's office released the investigation into the circumstances surrounding the death of that individual. So there was a lot to unpack there, and it's, you're watching, 2 police officers who are being absolutely crucified following a conviction in the court of public opinion, and it's pretty sad. So that is kind of taken away from the focus, which over the past couple of days really has been, I got to be honest with you, really in the past month, I tend not to spend a lot of time talking about firearms and Second Amendment issues because for me it's an easy topic. And so I'd much rather challenge myself and also make sure that my listeners aren't getting bored by hearing the same things over and over and over again. And I got to be honest, ever since the Parkland shooting a month ago yesterday, this has really become a dominant theme with my show. And I think yesterday was a perfect example of this with these walkouts that were taking place. Yeah. And, I have you're probably surprised to hear this, but I have a real issue with these. And looking at it from what has been the reaction from local what we have up here is the school administrative units, or SAUs. So basically the local school systems, the local SAUs